I ask this every year, but what is your 2025 New Year's resolution?
And I say this every year, read
Yeah.
more.
Yep. I was going to say the same exact thing. I think last year I said I need to read more books, and that's it for this year as well. Because I don't feel like my
Yeah.
mind is as sharp as it was in the past. So, all right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna okay. Okay. Then we need to set like an actual like goal. I want to
Uh,
read at least 3 books this year.
3 books.
3 books. Actually, just got one sent in the mail about Al Davis, thanks to Dennis Ranahan.
Who?
Again, he was a gambling. He used to actually work with the Raiders back in the day. He was Tom's gambling guy from when Tom was doing the show.
Oh, okay.
It's a very nice gesture.
So you're going to read that? Yeah, I think it. See, here's the thing: if you're going to read 3 books, I think this should be non-sports related.
Okay, can one be sports related and the other 2 not?
Yes. How about that?
Okay, then that's the goal. I'll read the Al Davis book. I still haven't read my Pedro Gomez book, which I've been really that's sports related, but that's really more about a man more than sports.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, I
Yeah.
think that counts as non-sports. Okay, I'll get one more book. Need to go to Barnes and Nobles and buy a book.
Take you back to the olden times.
I know.
Back in the day when we used to go there, listen to CDs.
Oh, dude, I used to buy a shit ton of CDs from Barnes and Nobles, and every time I did, I remember the checkout person would be like, "Why are you buying CDs from Barnes and Nobles?" Because honestly, they actually had a good selection, better than like if you go to Tower Records, FYE. Some places like didn't have the whole catalog of an artist. Barnes and Nobles was pretty good when it came to music.
Yeah, it was great when it came to music. They didn't make fun of you, did they?
They didn't make fun of me, but I remember one time this guy was like, "Hey, I got to be honest. Why are you buying music from here?" And I was like, "You guys have the CDs that I've been looking for that other places don't have." And he was like, "Well, we charge a lot more than those record stores." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's worth it if you guys actually have the CDs that I want."
Oh, okay. So he was doing it out of.
He was doing it as a solid.
Okay, all right. I thought he was just talking shit about Barnes and Noble while working there.
No, he wasn't talking shit. He was just questioning.
What are you buying CDs from here for?
Yeah, I know. Like that'd be bad business. But I think from his standpoint, it's like, I buy CDs too, and you should do it at a place that actually sells them cheaper.
Mm. Well, that's just a good employee.
Yeah, great employee. I used to actually, dude, I was a fiend when it came to on the weekends. God, early 2000s, I was at a Tower Records or FYE or any of these other CD stores that I don't even think are around anymore. Probably not. Like every weekend, ask my mom to buy me the latest hip hop CD or whatever. The collection of CDs that I have that's probably still in my mom's place is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my mom still has a jukebox, but it plays CDs. It doesn't have like actual jukebox stuff. It just
that's
plays
awesome.
CDs. Yeah. Yeah. It's a CD player, but it's a big old jukebox.
Yeah. To answer AJ Cruz's question, never went to Amoeba or Rasputin's. I mean, when I visited my dad in the summertime, yeah, I would go over there. But I'm like for like me living in Texas for a good deal of my life, I was going to like the mall to get CDs.
Oh yeah, no, we had a what is it, Tower Records? We had a Tower Records nearby. Never really went to Rasputin's. We didn't have one locally. I went to Rasputin's when I lived in Campbell, though.
Okay.
Yeah, that was sick.
No, I mean the Amoeba that's in Berkeley and the one that I used to go to a lot in LA is awesome. But yeah, no, like for people that grew up, in the East Bay, if you remember Max's Diner next to the FYE, God, that was like every time me and my family went out to go eat in San Ramon, we go to Max's Diner, and then afterwards we go get a CD afterwards. And those were the times, man.
They were the days, man. I remember. I don't know why it's a core memory, but I just wanted to buy like a CD of like a rock band, like nothing crazy. I didn't want metal, but I wanted like something that sounded like punk rockish. So I remember buying a CD of Rancid. I don't know where that went though.
Nice. Now I remember when I was young, you would just buy a CD if you heard a song on the radio, and you played that one single over and over and over again until I realized, there's actually other songs on the whole album. That's a trait I learned from my dad. That was terrible. I remember the summer of 2002, we bought a shit ton of CDs. Like Eminem came out, and a bunch of other artists came out with summer hits. And Red Hot Chili Peppers came out with By the Way, and my dad just kept playing By the Way all summer long in the car, just that over and over and over again. We were like, there's other songs on the album. He's like, nah, I like this one. Boop bop boop ba doop boop ba doop doop. By the way, I tried to be there. Until Can't Stop came on the radio. He was like, Can't Stop's on this album. I'll play that too.
Can't Stop, a good one. The Zephyr song, a good one.
What's up?
Zephyr song, that's a good one. That's on that album.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, great album.
I'm saying like he didn't know it until it was playing on the radio.
Yeah, well, I mean that's how it used to be though. What was it on 95.7 Max or the Z 95.7 is what
Whatever
it
was back in the day. But yeah, like it's like finally when iTunes came around in like 03, like then you realize I don't need to buy a whole damn album. Like just buy the one song that I like.
Yeah, this is a very spectacular rectangle.
Yeah. Or, I mean, Napster did that too, but I was one of those kids, like, Napster kind of freaked me out because I didn't know if Lars Ulrich was going to bust into my room and arrest me.
What, like in the commercial?
Yeah, exactly.
I never really used
you wouldn't
Napster.
download a whole movie, would you? Or whatever the fuck the commercial was.
Didn't they file a lawsuit against Napster? Wasn't it Metallica?
Metallica? Yeah. No, Lars Ulrich was quite the stickler when it came to his music being pirated.
Well, that makes sense. I mean,
no, it totally did. It totally did.
But now music's all about streaming and, who can get the most streams and
yeah,
all about agents who can get you on this Spotify playlists. Like it's all a mess now. There's something that's gone away from the originality of people listening to others' music. Now you're forced to listen to it by these streaming companies, by Big Stream.
Big Stream, huh?
Big Stream, Big Pharma, Big Med, Big Stream.
It's all a conspiracy theory. Just
is.
your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa, we long for the old days of when we used to buy music.
I never used to buy it. My parents did back in that time.
No, I was spoiled too, where, I would have like do chores and you spend that money on like, a D12 CD. But then most of the time it was me, just really embarrassing, going with my mom to like, hey, can I get this Juvenile record and and then they're like, hey, can you get this for me? And my mom's like buying it. And the guy that's ringing you up is like, this guy's getting a Juvenile record and having his mom pay for it.
We used to have the Outcast album, whatever the one
Speaker Box
was. Yeah, Speaker Box and
the Love Below.
Ooh, I don't know if you saw the inside of that.
I did, my friend. I did.
My mom's like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, when he's the centaur, that's quite the photo.
Yeah, Mom didn't know what she was getting into. She just loved the song, so she bought the album and opened the album. Goes, Steven, don't look at that. Tried to hide it.
Yeah, some of those when you flip through like the booklets, some of those pictures were nice.
Yeah.
What were some of your New Year's resolutions for sports though, Steven?
I don't have any. What do you mean?
Like teams, you see
watch less of them. That's my New Year's resolution for
to watch less sports.
To watch less sports. I'll keep up with the local stuff, but I'll try to go outside more. That's my New Year's resolution when it comes to sports.
Yeah, my New Year's resolution for the NFL offseason, we'll have to do it again where I actually do the things that you want me to do this time around.
Look, man, you asked and I gave you a bunch of suggestions.
No, I know, but this time around, you know what? Yeah, there's a lot of things I'd like to do different this year. So, yes, just give me the same ones. I'll play golf more. I'll go snorkeling somehow. I need to find a way to just live more, damn it. Not be doing this sports stuff all the time.
Yeah, no, it's not really a resolution, I guess. Another thing, I need to make it through these TV shows. I've been holding me and Jesse back from watching
So
them.
that's your New Year's resolution is to watch more shows.
Try to finish them, yeah. Like we got a bunch
like
of
which
unfinished shows. Sons of Anarchy being one. We watched it, and then we got to the end of season 2, and just stopped after that because there was other stuff that we had going on, and then we started watching other things, and it's like, this doesn't feel right to get back into Sons of Anarchy. So that's just one example. We got to get to Shrinking season 2. Severance season 2 is coming out soon.
Wait, you haven't finished Severance season 1?
No, we have.
Okay.
We have. But then Squid Game season 2 is out now. I got to watch that. I also want to complete. There's a lot that I want to do. This is the problem with New Year's resolutions. There's just too much shit that I want to do that I can't put into 1 year. I got to take my time. Maybe my New Year's resolution would be to have some structure in my life when it comes to these things.
That's not bad. That's not bad to have structure.
When it comes to these things, I have structure in my. Jesse's very good with that.
Yeah, and Jesse wants me to speckle your apartment as part of the New Year's resolution in 2025.
Well, yeah,
if you guys move out, I'll gladly help with that. But I mean,
no, we have no problem with that. It's you that needs some help.
I'm not moving out. Advice taken. Next time I move out of my apartment, I will spackle. I'll spackle all over the wall.
There you go. Spackle it.
It's time to grow up a little bit in that regard.
We'll have a spackle off.
Yeah, we'll see who has the best spackle. Whose spackle could go the longest distance.
Who can cover the most wall with their spackle?
Exactly. But I do have some New Year's resolutions for the teams that we talk about on this show. Okay, Raiders. Yeah. First and foremost, you just got to draft a QB. And we'll get to it. It may be extremely difficult to do that now, but you got to draft a QB, preferably in the first round. You got to go to what the other AFC West teams are doing right now. They drafted Mahomes a long time ago, and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chargers did as well. The Broncos seem comfortable with Bo Nix. You need to find your new quarterback of the future, some way, somehow. And it may not be Shedeur Sanders. It may not be Cam Ward, but you got to find that person. Warriors. I hear Steve Kerr talking about, I think Kuminga's turning, going in the right direction or whatever. And then last night he's like, we're in a rut right now. It's just time to trade Kuminga. That's just the bottom line. He's a good player. He's not a great player. He's not going to make this team better. He can't play with Steph very well. I think it's time to move on from Kuminga. Does that mean trading for Jimmy Butler? I don't know. But I think you need to trade Jonathan Kuminga and move in a different direction. 49ers, you got to draft a left tackle and you got to draft a defensive end. And find that, or whoever on the offensive line, but find somebody. Preferably you like to find out if, you can find the next Trent Williams. I would assume Trent comes back next season, but if he doesn't, maybe find his replacement. You got to find somebody opposite Nick Bosa. So, yeah, those are my New Year's resolutions for those three teams. And I got a quick one for you, Steven. If you have one for any of those teams, by all means, say it. But just your quick thoughts, and maybe you have a resolution or a different solution to what happened. But when we signed off last Friday, a couple of hours later, Corbin Burns did not end up going to the Giants. He signs with the Arizona Diamondbacks, what, a 6-year, $210 million deal?
Yeah.
With an opt-out after 2 years? You got to believe the opt-outs were the sticking point to Buster Posey, where that would have been a way to sign him back in the day with Farhan Zaidi, but it sounds like Buster Posey wants guys to be Giants for the long haul of that contract.
Well, that's an entirely different situation. But what I want for the Giants, maybe they found it already in Willy Adames, but just find someone who can give me 30 home runs. We're in this age now where guys can hit 30 home runs at will. Like, they can fall into 30 home runs in Yankee Stadium or even Dodger Stadium. That's where the most amount of home runs are hit. Maybe because they have the best players, but just statistically speaking, stadium-wise, that's where the most home runs are hit. So just New Year's resolution for a team, maybe they already found it, but try and get another guy. Maybe a Santander, maybe a Pete Alonso, someone who you can get 30 home runs from, because they haven't had that since Barry Bonds. It's been 20 years since. It's long overdue that they've had a 30 home run hitter. For the Warriors, to be honest, I don't have a resolution. You say it's trade Kuminga. I don't even know if trading Kuminga is the best option, because he can't be your number one guy, but you need to find another superstar to maybe pair up alongside him. I don't know what the resolution for the Warriors is. I think that's the same that goes across the board. And for the San Francisco 49ers, their resolution is just win the damn Super Bowl. Like, tired of this conference championship nonsense. Someone posted a list of the 49ers. It's either conference championship or miss out on the playoffs. Hey, how about you win a Super Bowl? All right? You haven't done that since 94. It's been 30 years since.
Yeah, but don't you think that's going to be more difficult now past this season?
Sure, and we can discuss all of that, but 49ers, win a Super Bowl. That should be your resolution in 2025.
At the same time, I think you would be with me on this. You look at that and you're like, like Diner fans would be like, well, we can never close the deal. Most fan bases, and maybe mainly the Raiders, if you saw miss the playoffs, go to AFC Championship game or NFC Championship game, for a good deal of time, you would take that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I get the frustration, but it's nice to be competitive at least. The Raiders, you look at them since 2013. It's been go to the AFC wildcard game twice and lose.
Yeah, it's loser talk. It's loser talk when you're talking about the Raiders. The fact that we're arguing over whether they should win so they could tank for a draft pick or not tank for a draft pick is just asinine. The fact that you're talking about the team in that way and we're having that conversation, it's awful. Um,
But it's loser denial where
yeah,
like in Billy Madison. The Raider fans have had a hard case of loser denial for a long deal of time here.
sure. But back to the Corbin Burns thing.
Yeah,
When I
real
saw
quick.
he signed with the Diamondbacks and I saw the reasoning behind it, I'm not looking at that the same as I'm looking at, say, an
Blake
Aaron
Snell.
Judge
Oh,
or a Carlos Correa. Blake Snell's a different story, but the guys Bryce Harper, Shohei Ohtani, like those guys had better opportunities elsewhere. They weren't winning when Bryce Harper was a free agent. But all those guys, they didn't really have any, they were on their own. They didn't need to rely on anyone to help make their decision. Corbin Burns has a family, goes to Arizona where he initially, like, there's some home ties. I think he got married in Arizona or they lived there for a little bit. They also have a family. And then there's the taxes that are involved too. I didn't really look at the Giants as the reason that they lost out on the deal. I'm looking more, oh, that's what Burns thought was the best decision for his family. Like Aaron Judge, as far as I know, a single guy, right? He was a single guy before signing with the Giants.
as far as I know.
He had the family ties there. The fact that Farhan Zaidi didn't realize that he was, using them as he was like a puppet master, just hanging them on by a string while he's dangling them, saying, "Hey, I might join the Giants just so he can get a better deal with the Yankees." Farhan should have realized that. The Carlos Correa thing, they axed that deal on their own. Carlos Correa was ready to come to San Francisco, including his family. We all know that he got married after he proposed to his then girlfriend at the World Series. Which
Don't I remember that?
Yeah, I think you had a weird
I had a
thing about that.
controversial tweet about that. I had a controversial tweet about that in my younger days.
And then, so the Burns thing, I just look at that as, hey, that actually does have something to do with California and his family. So I don't look at the Giants. It's a different way. I'm looking at that one.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get it. Like, you can't be mad at someone for wanting to do what's best for his family. And yeah, the state income tax is a big deal. And when you think about it, I know that my guy Walter Icabalseta was very confident that the Giants were going to land Corbin Burns. Maybe because JP Morosi and a lot of reporters were saying that, but at the same time, people were like, "Oh yeah, he's a Bay Area guy." Not really. I mean, he's from Bakersfield. He went to St. Mary's, but he would have gone to the best place financially for him, and he did in the end. Now, the problem that Giants fans are going to have is that he went to a division rival. So now you have to think the Dodgers, there was no way. I mean, like adding the guys they've added this offseason, adding a Blake Snell and re-signing Teoscar Hernandez. Now they're number one in the NL West, but you got to think the Diamondbacks are number two, Padres are three, and the Giants are where they were with they added Willie Adames, but really much nothing else. So
Right.
they may pivot to I don't know Justin Verlander or Max Scherzer. Roki Sasaki's a rumor out there, but doesn't sound like he's interested in the Giants. So I don't know. I don't really know where they're going to pivot, but yeah, not the best situation. And you
It's
may have
got
to
to be
look.
Pete Alonso, man. Like, it's got to be. You don't have a first baseman.
Yeah.
You don't have a first baseman, and he's right there for the taking. He's had to have felt disrespected by the Mets at some point. Because
But you're cool with them. Like, what would they do pitcher wise? Just get a veteran, or it doesn't really make sense to get an old 40-year-old pitcher as opposed to just build up the young rotation they have right now.
yeah, it's a hard. I mean, it's a conundrum they're in, man. I don't know if maybe they feel like they can develop Kyle Harrison much better than they did. I'd feel better about Robbie Ray and him kind of not getting back to a Cy Young form where he led the league in ERA and strikeouts and did all those crazy things with the American League in 2021. But I mean, that guy was coming off an injury and just returned in the second half of the season. I'd feel a little bit better about Robbie Ray. Like, I feel good about Hayden Birdsong too, but I wouldn't mind another veteran pitcher in there. I don't know who that would be. You can never tell with those. Get a Justin Verlander or Max Scherzer, great, but those guys have just been literally hurt by injury, so I don't know about them either. I don't know what the next move is. They do need to get a pitcher, but I wasn't feeling that great, like with the whole pitchers market anyway. Like Max Fried, like if they were going to get Corbin Burns, awesome, but Max Fried, another guy who gets injured a lot. Jack Flaherty, I don't know. We saw what he did in the World Series. He obviously became a champion, but in the regular season, like he wasn't that great. So I don't know what they should do pitching wise. I guess I feel confident in that. I'm more confident in the starting rotation than I am the bullpen. Bullpen stunk last year.
Yeah, we'll see what they do with Camilo Doval. And yeah, the newest thing is, Pete Alonso. So we'll see if the Giants are in on that. But
they need to be. They need to. He's perfect. Right-handed power bat. Like right-handed hitters don't have a problem at Oracle Park. That's not the problem. It's left-handers. So I think Pete Alonso would fit perfectly for the team.
We shall see. All right, let's talk about the Raiders.
Oh,
so they win, and it's probably their best win of the season, I would say. Most convincing win.
Well, not
but
many
then again,
to choose from.
Yeah, I know. Like you look at the teams that they've beaten. The Baltimore win, pretty good in hindsight now. But it was early on in the season, and the Ravens' pass defense wasn't great, and Gardner Minshew was just slinging it around in that game. So I can't put that's an early season victory where it's like, oh my, that's probably the best win of the season. But in the grand scheme of things, if the Ravens play the Raiders today, they would kill them.
Derek, no one knows what teams are in the first 4 weeks.
Exactly.
So anyone can win in those times.
I'm not putting a lot. Like the Patriots beat the Bengals week 1. Like let's not go overboard with that one. And then you got the win against the Cleveland Browns, 2 weeks ago against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then this one against the Saints. Had Derek Carr played in this game, it might have gone differently. Probably would go differently, honestly. And I never understand, I get that Raider fans were frustrated with Derek Carr, but I saw the video of the Raider fan walking around New Orleans being like, fuck Derek Carr. We hate Derek Carr, right? And then all the Saints fans around him go, yeah, screw Derek Carr. He's like, all right, something the Raider fans and Saints fans can agree upon. The hate's a little too much. I know you think differently, Steven. He wasn't good when it mattered. I totally get that. But the hate, the vitriol that Raiders fans and currently Saints fans have for the guy, I think it's too much at times.
Started last year. It started last year, for the Saints fans. Don't you remember that podcaster just started going off on him? You got
to be more specific.
Every fan base has one. The 49ers have a bunch of them. Podcasters who dedicate their life to the 49ers and kind of try to turn it into something. And a majority of them have. But there's one dude for the Saints who just obliterated Derek Carr last year, at the end of last year. And is it too much? Yes, because overall he's a good guy. I never hated the guy. I did not like how he handled his exit from the Raiders. I did not like all this tough talk from both the Carr brothers as if they're going to do something or say something. No, that's for later down the line. Well, nothing happened. So a lot of that was all talk. And I think
that's not true. Harvester Sports got the scoop.
Oh, God. You mean Derek Carr's cousin or nephew or whatever it is?
Mm-hmm.
Haven't heard much from Harvester Sports since.
Yeah.
So we didn't hear anything from them. It was just a lot of talk, and it frustrated me in the moment because what they did, I think, kind of it was cold-hearted. But I thought it made sense if they weren't going to move on with him. So I've never had that hate where I'm going to go around on socials or burn his jersey or do any of that. I think that's all a little too much. Although, I'm poking fun of him for the little commercial with the all denim, the Canadian tuxedo, as they call it.
Yeah.
Canadian jumpsuit, whatever.
No, I mean, that's fair game in my opinion. But, when they threw beer bottles at him and everything afterwards, I just think it's a little too much for.
I swear, I think a sandwich went onto that field that day.
Well, do you remember the spoon? Remember there was one game you and I there was a Raider Sunday Night Football game where someone threw a spoon on the field. Really? I don't know if they were throwing it at Derek Carr, but a spoon was thrown.
Huh. Someone just brought a spoon into the game.
Yeah, I remember you and I talked about it a long time ago where it's a spoon just was thrown on the field for whatever reason.
Was it plastic or metal?
I don't remember. You knew about it better than I did.
Are spoons even metal? Are spoons or forks metal? What are they made of?
They're metal. You can't put them in the microwave.
Good point.
Yeah.
Dumb question.
Anyway.
Good band.
So the Raiders win 25-10 over the Saints. And I have to say, this is probably Aiden O'Connell's best performance as a Raider. Just feeling comfortable, and the passes he was throwing, the touchdown pass he threw to Trey Tucker, had a good connection going with Jacoby Myers. But is it enough to feel confident in him being the starting quarterback going forward? No, and he shouldn't be. But other positives: Brock Bowers breaks Mike Ditka's rookie receiving record of receptions and receiving yards. Well, receptions was Puka Nacua. Receiving yards for a tight end was Mike Ditka. And people could say, Mike Ditka did it in 14 games, just as O.J. Simpson rushed for 2,003 yards in 14 games, and Saquon Barkley, it took 16 games. But whatever, that comes with the territory of having more football games. So there's things that are positive for the Raiders. I think Brock Bowers is going to be, if not already, one of the best tight ends of football. So he might surpass Travis Kelce as the best tight end in the AFC West by next season. Maybe he already has. Even though Travis Kelce's a great player, he's kind of diminishing. But let's be real too. Winning this game hurt them for the future. It did. And like we talked about it last week, you can't expect players to just lay down and not compete. But yeah, winning this game when the Giants were kicking the crap out of the Colts, you saw an opening for, having the first overall pick. And now they have a winning streak, which most fans should be happy about. But at the same time, you have to think about the future. So, I don't know what to make of Shedeur Sanders. 1 minute, his dad's all about him going to the Raiders, and you think that he wants to be a Raider, and then he's wearing Giants cleats at the bowl game. Whatever the deal is with that. But, yeah, they most likely have missed out on getting the top 2 QBs in this draft with this win.
Sure. But to focus on just the team, it's like the opposite of the 49ers with what the issues are. The issue with the 49ers is they got a lot of star power, right? They got guys who, I think George Kittle's going to be an all-pro. Actually, I don't know how many all-pros they really have on the team this year, but they had a ton last year. I think George Kittle's going to be that guy, but that might be about it. I don't really see any other all-pros on there. But
they don't even do fullback all-pro anymore. So, yeah, just be George Kittle.
And they had like 5 of them last year. But the 49ers are full of starters, not a lot of depth. Feels like the Raiders have a bunch of backups, which is good, but no real number ones. Like the wide receivers, Trey Tucker and Jacoby Myers are nice pieces, but those guys are a third wide receiver and a second wide receiver, respectively. They obviously had Devontae Adams before the season, but they are in need of another number one. And I think Jacoby is a free agent, or is he under contract?
He is.
Okay, so Jacoby's a free agent. They need to find a number one there. They obviously have a number one edge rusher, Tyree Wilson. I'll say this: he has improved over the coming weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they have a star edge rusher alongside him, alongside Max Crosby. Kind of similar to the Niners in that respect. They also need to find someone who can line up opposite him. I don't know if Tyree Wilson's like an every down type of edge rusher. I think he's more of like a situational guy who can maybe give you a push. I know they got Malcolm Kuntz and his season was over, but I
believe he's a free agent too.
They need a number one guy there. Robert Spillane is a fine linebacker, but you need someone to pair alongside him. Fred Warner, you can see the impact that he makes, but that defense is different without Dre Greenlaw. And all the greats have all had, a great linebacking duo. Look at Luke Kuechly. He was paired up along with Thomas Davis, and they were tremendous for the Panthers back in the day. So they need someone else there. Need a number one corner. I don't know if they have a number one corner. Jack Jones is fine. Nate Hobbs is another free agent, so they don't have a number one corner. Amir Abdullah, terrific back. He obviously had a big game and looked good. Is he your starter? No. Is Najee Harris the guy who's going to be the number one? That's a free agent that I'm looking at. They declined his 5th-year option. Probably not going to put the tag on him. Najee Harris is someone, I don't know if he was a Raiders guy, but he strikes me as a Raiders guy, obviously a Bay Area person. So
I want to say I heard an interview. He was more of a 49er fan.
Okay. Well, then there you go. Never mind. Screw that. But Najee,
we don't want him now.
Still like he's a guy who may not get you the big explosive plays, but still 4 straight years with 1,000 yards rushing. I think you could sign him there.
Yeah.
But point being, they're just full of role players right now. They don't have any number ones, and it's not going to get fixed. You know what? Who the number one guy is? Who the number one? The number ones that I feel good about: Jackson Powers Johnson and Colton Miller. Colton Miller has gotten better as the season's gone on, and he's gone back from injury, getting a little bit healthier. Jackson Powers Johnson is just involved in every play, even when he's not the one making the initial block. He's always getting to the second or third level, and you'll always find him, whether it makes a difference or not, you'll always find him like trying to get the guy who's tackling the ball carrier. And it may not always work, but the fact that he's always in the play, I think that means something. DJ Glaze, I think the jury's still out there. So they got a bunch of number one guys or a bunch of number two guys, not a lot of number ones. And then they also need a number one head coach. Like that's the problem with the Raiders. We're going to try and do this thing, and Raider fans are going to do this too, where they're going to try and solve their issues all in one off season. And we've seen what a difference can make with just one quarterback and one head coaching change, aka the Commanders. But the Commanders had an Austin Eckler coming from the Chargers. They had Terry McLaurin, who is a number one wide receiver and, in my opinion, still one of the most underrated in the league. And they found a bunch of diamonds in the rough on their defense. So I don't think this one's going to get solved this offseason. Maybe they do need to trade up so they can get a quarterback and find that guy. But it's hard, man. Watching those games were hard because you're like, God, Aiden O'Connell's got something. But then you also see that sack just before the first half where he's just running around and has nowhere to go. God, you want someone who at least has a little bit of mobility. If he has a clean pocket, he's fine. But you kind of say that with every NFL quarterback. That's why they're in the pros.
Yeah, I mean, if Aiden O'Connell was playing 15 years ago, I think we'd be like, all right, well, you know what? This kid's got some promise. Let's see where it goes. It's like a Matt McGloin situation or anything like that. But the truth is he can't compete with the likes of Patrick Mahomes or Justin Herbert or Bo Nix. The game has changed now. You need a quarterback that can move. That's why Michael Penix gave the Falcons more of a chance to Kirk Cousins, and I see that now. Like, watching that Commanders-Falcons game was extremely hard for Raiders fans because you saw two guys that the Raiders were interested in. Yeah. We never know how much they were interested in Michael Penix, but yeah, you had to believe that that's the guy that they wanted. And they really wanted Jada Daniels with his relationship with Antonio Pierce, but that was never going to be feasible with the Commanders having the second overall pick. And I hear you, Steven, on how the Commanders were able to switch things this offseason by getting free agents and having a good head coach and Dan Quinn. But the truth is also they were able to switch things because they got the second overall pick.
Right.
And that's where the Raiders are going to be up Schitt's Creek because they, for the most part of this season, were right there with the Giants for being the worst team in football. And it's not going to reflect that now because they've won two meaningless games against bad teams. And now they're eighth. And I don't, yes, they're going to have to trade up, but I don't see a good scenario where they can get a Cam Ward or a Shedeur Sanders. You look at the teams that are ahead of them and what it means right now for draft position. So right now, the Patriots would have your first overall pick. But I don't see them keeping it because they're going to play the Buffalo Bills. The Bills have locked up the 2 seed. There's no reason to play Josh Allen. I think that Sean McDermott said today that he was going to play a little bit. But I have to believe that not enough where, I don't know, like Mitch Trubisky's going to get him a win. So I see the Patriots getting a win in that game. They were tough against the Bills a couple weeks ago. So I don't see the Patriots hanging on to that first overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got the Titans at number 2 right now. They're playing the Texans. They're going to play both Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. I don't know how that's going to go. And the Texans are playing their starters because they played like shit the last 2 weeks. They can't move up. They can't move down. They're locked in at 4. But they got to show something before the playoffs start. Then you got the Browns versus the Ravens. And the Browns are at number 3 right now, but they're playing the Ravens on Saturday. If the Ravens win, then they win the AFC North. So I don't see much of a fight from the Cleveland Browns in that game. Giants and Eagles, we'll talk about that more, is what that means for Saquon Barkley. But they'd be crazy to play Jalen Hurts or even Kenny Pickett at this point. They're probably going to have Tanner McKee out there handing the ball off to Saquon Barkley if they even decide for him to break the record of Eric Dickerson. So you're probably going to see the Eagles rest their starters. And you got the Jags playing the Colts. The Jags probably lose that game. Panthers playing the Falcons at 6. I'm saying right now the Panthers will be drafting 6 right now, playing the Falcons. The Falcons need to win that game to stay in the hunt for the NFC South. And then the Jets are playing the Dolphins. The Jets will be your 7th pick, and the Dolphins have something to play for. Now they could beat the Dolphins with Tyler Huntley playing in that game. And then the Raiders are playing. Raiders right now are number 8, and this is a very interesting thing. So with the schedule the way it is for Week 18, I didn't understand this. The Cleveland Browns are going to play the Baltimore Ravens at 1 o'clock on Saturday. If the Ravens win that game, then they win the division, which kind of doesn't mean a whole lot for the Pittsburgh Steelers in that next game on Saturday at 5:30. They play the Cincinnati Bengals, who have to win that game in order to stay alive. But at that point for the Steelers, it may be that, okay, do we care about seeding? Do we want to be that 4th seed? Do we want to be that 5th seed? Does it really matter? At that point, the Steelers, if they win or lose, could dictate what the Chargers do the next day against the Raiders. So it's very possible that if the Steelers win that game against the Bengals, then the next day the Chargers have nothing to play for. They're locked in at 6. They can't do anything. So at that point, why wouldn't you play Tyler Heineke or whatever the hell his name is, the backup to Justin Herbert?
Heineke. Put some respect on his name.
I'm sorry. I was thinking of his name too fast. He was a great quarterback. Well, not a great quarterback, but a good, solid backup.
Great headband.
Yeah, from what I remember. You very well could look at the Raiders.
You said yeah.
Yeah. The Raiders could very well win 3 games to end their season, which would mean they would be higher than 8 probably. So I don't know, man. It's not looking great for them getting their next quarterback as far as like who they value. Now it could come out that they like somebody else besides Shador and Cam, but I don't know right now.
I have a proposition, Derek. All right. Let's just say they don't land one of those guys. Let's just say they don't trade up. Let's just say they stick within the 5 to 10 range. They don't trade up. They don't get Cam Ward. They don't get Shador Sanders. And in the 3rd round, right? This is his projection. In the 3rd round.
Don't say it.
What?
You better not say my guy from Texas.
No.
Okay.
No. In the 3rd round, they go with Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart, who just declared for the NFL draft. And let me tell you something, Derek. Jackson from Utah. You know who else is from Utah? There's a lot of people from Utah.
Yeah, I'm about to say. Well,
another Jackson.
Powers
Johnson.
Yeah.
And how old are they? Both 21 years old. Both born in 2003. And who went to the same high school in Utah? Jackson Powers Johnson and Jackson Dart.
Okay.
Keep Aiden O'Connell. Build Jackson Dart up. I look back at 2016, Derek. I look back at the 2016 draft, and I see a guy by the name of Jared Goff. He was tremendous, right? He's been tremendous, had a career resurgence, and we all know what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
But I look in the 3rd round of that draft, and I see a Jacoby Brissett. And how much longer are you going to get tired of me talking in this sing-song voice? I kind of like it. Jacoby Brissett drafted in the 3rd round. Dak Prescott drafted in the 4th round. A lot of these guys have had staying power in the NFL. Other guys include Jeff Driscoll, Paxton Lynch, Christian Hackenberg. So what if Connor Cook? So what if we're just being blinded, Derek, by all these 1st-round draft picks that maybe, just maybe, there's their franchise guy in the middle of this draft?
Indeed. Well, you do the Windhorst. Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Steven. I don't hate Jackson Dart. In fact, we'll probably get a lawn on for like a Raiders roundtable once the season ends. His favorite college QB is Jackson Dart. So that could be an option. And maybe you don't even need to wait till the 3rd round to get him. Maybe his value is that big that maybe he's a 1st-round pick, but I highly doubt that. Or I don't know. Like the urgency to draft quarterbacks in last year's draft was alarming with 6 guys in the top 11. That's how the Raiders missed out at 12 or whatever it was, 13. I don't see as many guys this year. Like me and Alon were talking about it when the season started. There was a lot of guys we were naming. He likes Jalen Milroe a lot because, surprise, surprise, he went to Alabama. Watching him today against Michigan in that bowl game, I would not draft Jalen Milroe. He just doesn't look ready. You got Dylan Gabriel. You got other guys. The Mahomes lookalike. I don't even know if he's declaring. But
Mahomes
there's
lookalike. That's all we know him. The guy
yeah,
who tries to
exactly.
convince everyone that he's not trying to be Patrick Mahomes,
Yeah,
even
it's
though
it's
he's
like, dude,
clearly.
just be honest. Just be honest. You're trying to be Patrick Mahomes. You got the hair. You look like him. Jesus.
Man, I'm just saying, I'm really proud of that. And I'm going to stand by that so that I have this stupid confidence where it's like I go into the draft acting like I know things. To be honest, my friend told me, my buddy from Oregon told me
Yeah.
that Jackson Dart and Jackson Powers Johnson were
Shut him
busts.
out. Shut him out. Your
Tyler.
guy. Tyler, yes.
Zacharias,
Good dude.
who's currently at the Rose Bowl right now. And
Watching oh wait, no, that's Oregon and Ohio State tomorrow.
Oregon and Ohio State tomorrow. He's
Woo!
there. He's there with our boy Seth, and he's gonna and Caitlin as well. So hopefully Oregon gets a win. He's been to the one in 2015 and 2020. I'm not gonna act like I knew that either. I got that wrong. I was texting him earlier. I was like, "Have you been to the Rose Bowl before?" He's like, "Yeah, twice, Steve." Okay, so Jackson Dart, that's my guy.
All right, that's not a bad take. And who's to say that Shador Sanders is going to pan out at the next level? He didn't look great against BYU in that bowl game, but then again, like, okay, they really didn't have a lot to play for. Like, I don't really know what to watch for in these bowl games. Like, some guys are just kind of taking it easy. Like, there will be a lot of talk of Cam Ward staying in that bowl game against Iowa State just to break a record. So he was there to become, I guess, the all-time Division I touchdown leader. And as soon as he was done breaking that record, he left. And his teammates continued the game, and they lost. Some people are going to give him shit for that. Others will be like, well, who cares? Probably not the best decision. If you're going to play, you should just play all the way through. Right. But I don't think that should be held against him. Now, at the end of the day, is it going to stop people from drafting Shador or him 1 or 2? I don't know. And you have to believe that there's going to be teams like the Giants or the Browns that are not going to be willing to trade down. They need to get their franchise quarterback. So, yeah, I just don't want it to be, again, where the Raiders are up Schitt's Creek when it comes to drafting a quarterback and they have to pivot somewhere, some other direction. But there may be depth or there may be enough quarterbacks where you don't have to get some guy in the first round. But you would like to solidify that this offseason.
Right. So my brother's trying to make the point. It sounds like you're pretty sold on them getting a quarterback in the draft. Do you hate the idea of them bringing in a veteran? They got to go with the rookie no matter what.
I mean, I just don't think it's like exactly what Louis Riddick and Dan Orlovsky was talking about a couple weeks ago when they were doing that Monday night game. What veteran would be enticed to sign with the Raiders right now? The only guy I could think of maybe is Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
And besides that, I think Sam Darnold's going to have better options out there. Kirk Cousins is going to have better options out there. Like, for what the Raiders need right now, I think they just need a young quarterback as opposed to a veteran to give them, 5-6 wins next season? Like, getting a veteran is, the truth is, whatever quick fix they're looking for to stay competitive next year in that very competitive division now, it's not going to be an answer. They need to just find their new guy and start this whole new iteration of the Raiders with a franchise quarterback. They need to find that guy, and we'll see if they do. But I don't really know what their options are now, which when it looks like they probably won't get the first or second overall pick.
Yeah, and Jackson Dart, baby. That's it.
Jackson Dart may not be bad.
All right. Now we do. Before we move on, I can tell we're going to move on. I know.
Yeah, kind of.
But I need to play this because it's fresh in my memory. Godfrey, comedian, he's been around forever. He has been doing his Deion
Does
Sanders.
The best Jason Statham impression.
Yeah, well, his Deion Sanders is all time. So this made me laugh. Oh, hang on.
It's Coach Prime. Now I'm wishing y'all and your families happy holiday and a happy new year. We got to walk into this new year with confidence. Confidence. You got to be a winner. Understand? I'm a coach and I'm a father. I'm all about winning. We got to get rid of the bull jive. When you get out in that darn world, you got to understand that you always play in the game. Okay? And I'm going to tell you this right now from my heart. I love people. I love all of y'all. And bless y'all. Remember, get rid of the bull jive. It's your man.
It's pretty good.
It's the fingers, man.
The fingers are good.
It's just so good.
You know, some people would say I do a better Deion Sanders, but some people else would say you probably shouldn't do your Deion Sanders impression.
No, yours just stinks. It's not good.
Oh, come on. No, Buffo. I remember my baby, Devin Hester. Pretty good. Take that, Godfrey. Godfrey's a good comedian. He's been in the comedy game for a long time now.
Dude, he's been doing it forever.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
His Jason Statham, I remember there was a trade-off or like a competition between him and Ari Spears. Godfrey did a great Jason Statham, and Ari Spears does a fantastic Tony Soprano, and they were just going back and forth with each other.
I got one. Here's Godfrey pretending to be Jason Statham working at a Starbucks.
This drink's for Johnny. Johnny, I called your name a few times. I guess you didn't want to come up and get your drink. It's getting cold. Oh, see, I knew you weren't here to get drinks. You were here to rob the place. But what am I doing here? I'm just working part-time for the holidays. And I knew that you and your mates were here bullying people. That's what you were doing. People can't even live in peace without you bothering people. Well, let me tell you, I guess you're not going to drink this, are you? Oh, all right. I just put this down.
It's not bad.
Stupid.
And the Guy Ritchie like drum line too is not bad either.
Oh, man. All time.
So we talked about it last podcast, and it probably will grow and grow as we do these things in the off season. But Tom Pelissero talked about names you could see this offseason for getting coaching jobs again. And Mike Vrabel was discussed because whatever job he was doing with the Cleveland Browns, his contract has expired. So he's eligible to sit down with any team that wants to interview him. And the team that he's linked to the most, they talked about, I think it was Peter Schrager and Tom Pelissero today on Good Morning Football. They talked about the Browns, or maybe not the Browns, sorry, he's with the Browns. They talked about the Chicago Bears and the New York Jets. But the team that they kept bringing up that he is probably the most interested in because of the connection with the minority owner, Tom Brady, is the Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh,
so we shall see about Mike Vrabel because it sounds like Antonio Pierce will not be the head coach of this football team. They did like a coaching cycle or just a report Rappaport did this Saturday about who's likely to stay, who's likely to go. I'm shocked that it sounds like the Cowboys are going to give an extension to Mike McCarthy. And it sounds like Brian Daboll may be back with the Giants.
Right.
But yeah, the Raiders, many people are saying that they were anticipating Antonio Pierce being a one and done, really a year and a half done, but a full one and done as Raiders head coach.
You know, I say all the stuff about the Raiders and their players and focusing on the players. Who knows what this team would look like if they had a coach that was competent? From what we've known and what we've learned about Antonio Pierce, he's not organized. Doesn't know how to run an NFL team. So every evaluation that we're giving, I think, has to have an asterisk. I'm kind of repeating what I said on the air on KCBS today. I'm like, you got to kind of put an asterisk on Ricky Pearsall when evaluating his rookie season, considering the guy got shot in Union Square right before the season started. Like, you could evaluate him all you want, but you got to add that, like, he, obviously went through a life-changing situation. With the Raiders, who knows what this team would look like if they actually had a head coach who was proven, who knew what he was doing. Didn't seem Antonio Pierce knew what he was doing. And like the fact that he didn't start out Aiden O'Connell in the first place, what we've seen these past few games is that Aiden O'Connell gives you a much better chance to win games than Gardner Minshew ever could. They probably just played him because they paid him.
Yes.
And for no other reason. So yes, Antonio Pierce, he needs to be done. But Mike Vrabel, you said coach of the Browns?
He was a consultant with the Browns this season.
Oh, that's right. That's right. He was a consultant. Didn't go well for them. But I do feel more confident in bringing in a guy who's actually done this before as opposed to like a Ben Johnson. Or I mean, like look how quickly we went off Bobby Slowick. We're even considering this guy for to be a head coach last year, and then it's just like, oh, one bad season with the Texans. Nope, no longer in the head coaching candidate jobs.
I mean, he might be, but yeah, I have to say with CJ Stroud regressing a little bit this season, that it may be in the best interest of him to continue being an OC with CJ Stroud.
Right. And find a head coach who knows how to build a coaching staff too.
Yes.
Antonio Pierce made the wrong move hiring Luke Getsy. Patrick Graham was already there before Pierce arrived. So in his contract, he declined a contract extension last year. He's a free agent, so he's doing the whole betting on himself thing and finding somewhere else potentially, or maybe sticking with the Raiders if they find the right guy to lead the team. I think more than anything, like the fact that he didn't accept a contract extension is because he knew that this team probably wasn't going to go anywhere with Antonio Pierce, and he didn't know who the head coach would be beyond 2024.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a good move by him. And I would also say there could be a possibility that Mike Vrabel retains Patrick Graham if he wants to stay because of their connection with the Patriots.
That's what I'm saying, is he just doesn't know who's going to be the guy. And if they find the right guy, maybe he'd be interested in coming back to the Raiders and doing the whole thing again. So I don't know. I think Mike Vrabel would be my number one just because I've seen him do it before.
Yeah, I think every Raider fan would probably agree with you, although there might be some that say, what's the difference between Mike Vrabel and Antonio Pierce? They're just both leaders of men. And I would say not really. Mike Vrabel is intellectually, like, he has an impact on the game that I've never really seen a defensive coach have. And just like, he's just incredibly smart. Like, people will forget about, well, people should remember the playoff game against the Patriots.
Yes.
Where he ran, like, he kept running like delay of games.
Yep.
So that Bill couldn't call timeout or whatever it was, that more time was running off. I'm screwing up a little bit, but
yeah, he was giving Belichick a taste of his own medicine.
Exactly. He got Belichick. Like, Belichick was like, you're manipulating the rules the same way I would do back in the day. Like when they would play the Baltimore Ravens and they would change the eligible offensive linemen. And it was just it was manipulating the rules. And we had to change the rules because of that. Mike Vrabel knows how to coach a football team. Now, what was his downfall with the Titans? It was because he fought with Ron Carthon and he wanted control of the football team. He wanted more of a say. He knew that they were tearing down the team a little bit and he didn't like that. Now he can come in to the Raiders fresh. Like right out the gate, he knows that this is a rebuild and he establishes his culture. And it's the same culture that Tom Brady wants to have, the same type of thing that they had in New England. It's not going to be a copycat thing with Josh McDaniels where he just wanted to do the Patriots in Vegas. Mike Vrabel has his own thing that he created in Tennessee. So, yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. And I think that out of the options out there, Mike Vrabel, as far as the owners, he would have to answer to Woody Johnson. He would have to answer to the Mikowskis in Chicago. With the Patriots, yeah, he'd have to answer to Mark Davis. But Mark Davis, I'll give credit to him. He doesn't meddle as much as I thought he would. The only person he would have to talk to is Tom Brady, his former teammate. So I think it's a slam dunk if you go after Mike Vrabel.
And Derek, in this hypothetical that you're speaking of,
yes,
if someone ever comes up to me and says, well, what's the difference between Mike Vrabel and Antonio Pierce? If they don't know the difference, I'm not talking to that person.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Like, I'm not like, I'll get on my high horse with that. All right, I'm just going to let you think what you want to think if you really don't know the difference between the two.
I've seen people like Raider fans. I love you, but sometimes you buy into the Raider stuff from back in the day. Like I can't tell you how many like Raider fans I saw post the Antonio Pierce in the locker room after they beat the Saints, where he screams Raiders. Like, that's my coach. Come on, you need a guy that just does more than scream Raider in the locker room after a win.
He needs something to celebrate, Derek. Give him a break.
I understand they need something to celebrate, but what does he exactly do? What does he do?
I don't know.
You have the Mahomes rules, but you got swept by him this year. Like, what is your expertise?
Yeah. What does he do well? There's nothing he does well.
Exactly. So nothing. I think that bringing Vrabel in would establish a culture and make the defense better, and he would find the right guys offensively to help this football team.
It would be a full reset, man. It would be a full reset. It's like the 49ers going from Chip Kelly and Jim Tomsula to Kyle Shanahan. It would be a full reset, but they also got to get the right players. First, you find the coach, then you find the players. You know, they made they made that big decision when they first got Kyle Shanahan in 2018. Hey, we're going to, or excuse me, 2017 rather. We are going to get Jimmy Garoppolo. We are going to trade a second round pick for him, and we are going to pay top of the market quarterback money. Well, no one's really in that situation right now where you could take a chance on a backup and potentially pay him big money if he's in line for a contract. There's no one that's really in that situation right now, so they can't do that. They got to find another way. But like, they need a full reset, and Antonio Pierce is going to be phased out. I don't know if he's going to have another head coaching job. I think he kind of had this one shot, and that's it. He might have to start as a coordinator and learn again. Yep. But God, bringing in all those guys as special assistants. Think about
Marvin Lewis
and Tom Coughlin and Joe Philbin, who's still a senior advisor with the team. Like, bringing in all those guys just so you could get some help. Yeah, that was a bad look.
Yeah, it was. And yeah, he, like I said, he didn't add anything. The real thing, like you see it now, there seems to be a disconnect between Pierce and Tom Telesco, where at the end of a game, they're asked, you know, what do you say to fans that now think that you missed out on the first overall pick? And he says, talk to Tom Telesco. I think that Antonio Pierce was probably put in the dark this season as far as like what the future will be. Mike Vrabel, if he comes in, he has to make the nice with Tom Telesco. It can't be where they're at each other's throats and he has a philosophy and Tom Telesco has a different one. He's got to get along with him. That's been the one problem with Mike Vrabel in the past, where he didn't get along with John Robinson. He didn't get along with Rand Carthon. He has to make the nice with Tom Telesco.
You know it's happening, right? You know it's coming, right? You know it's coming. The Hondo bullet point article, baby. Antonio Pierce was a coach. Antonio Pierce, or no, Josh McDaniels was fired. Antonio Pierce became the head coach. Antonio Pierce won a game. Everyone liked Antonio Pierce. Antonio Pierce is now another head coach, and people stopped liking him. Bullet point.
What led to his downfall? It's all here in Hondo's points.
Can't wait for that.
I can't wait for that either.
Yes.
All right, Steven, before we get into the 49er game last night, you lost in picks. Let's break out a little hot sauce, baby.
All right. Yeah.
Shake it up.
Should I have refrigerate after opening? This is not going to be good.
Is this a new one?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to keep that in the fridge.
Oof.
I have friends that just leave them in the cupboard, so you should be fine. But
I've left this out on the desk.
What kind of hot sauce are we dealing with here?
It's the same one that you have. Last Dab Experience.
Ooh.
Over 91% Pepper X.
Yeah, baby. Is it your first time trying this?
It's my first time trying, or no, second time. I had this the last time, but I also haven't eaten anything, so there's a very real chance that I
shit your pants.
or I yak, because I was really close the last time.
All right, just don't overdo it. Okay. So, Steven, as you swallow and the inferno starts to hit your cheeks in both spots.
This one's not too.
Yep. Spoke too soon. What did you think of last night's 49er game?
Why do you have to ask me this? Give me some time.
We give you some time. This is the whole point of this. You just had the hot sauce. This is the whole point.
All right, listen.
Give you time. Kiss my ass. Let's go. How many times have you made me do this?
Where do you want to start? A lot, because you're a loser. Where do you want to start?
That's my.
Where do you want to start?
This season, yes, I've made some calculated errors with the Giants and Bears and what other stupid teams have I picked?
All right. So
Browns.
I don't really know what I was meant to make of last night's game. It's like I felt about the 49ers season in general. The offense clicking in the first half. You expect to see that. Kittle over the middle, Juszczyk getting catches, Ricky Pearsall getting that one in the end zone where Troy Aikman and Joe Buck didn't even know what was going on. But I'll say this. It showed again how Brock Purdy, we just need to turn the page here and move on to the next season. He's regressed. He's regressed because that Pearsall throw where he's open down the right sideline, it looked like the exact same play, the one that we look back on a couple of weeks after that shoulder injury, and we're like, Pearsall was open. He'd normally make that throw. That's exactly what he tried to do, but the throw was short. Pearsall had to jump for it, turn around. Obviously, he got tackled Now, Purdy ran it in for the touchdown, but that should have been 2 touchdown catches for Pearsall in this game, not just 1. This hot sauce isn't too bad. I'm feeling good about this.
All right. Feeling nicey.
But I think where you can
you're doing a better Grinch impression than I did last podcast.
where you can look at this game and kind of look into how it's going to view the 49ers next year or foreshadowing for the Niners next year. Their defense needs some work. Malik Mustafa can make all the hard hits you want, but they need him in better in coverage. Renardo Green had a couple of nice plays, but they just got beat. Talanoa Hufanga, I don't know what his future is with this team. Dre Greenlaw, you need him. You need him back. Find a way to sign him back. I don't care if it's a multi-year deal, 2 or 3 year deal. Sign Greenlaw back. I know he got hurt, but he makes such a big difference with that defense. And obviously, like you said, find someone opposite Nick Bosa. Do you think, Derek, they need to find a new defensive coordinator?
Yes.
Yeah.
But will that happen? Probably not. I don't think that Kyle wants to. This would be his 4th different defensive coordinator in 5 seasons. And the obvious thing this offseason will be where Robert Saleh is available, where Jeff Ulbrich will most likely be available once his time with the Jets comes to an end. Yeah, you can upgrade there. But from what it sounds like, I think Kyle likes the scheme. It's just the personnel. So he probably wants to give Nick Sorensen another chance. I don't know about Brandon Staley coming back, but I never knew what really his role was with this team. Maybe just to help out Nick Sorensen, call the defensive plays. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if he'll be back with this team. But it does sound like from what Matt Mayoko has said that Nick Sorensen will probably be your defensive coordinator in 2025. And you also have to think about, is it in the best interest of Robert Saleh to go back to the 49ers? Maybe, but is that the way it's always going to be for Robert when things go bad? Okay, like Matt Patricia or Josh McDaniels or any of these other Patriot coaches, they always went back to Bill. Is it a better look for Robert Saleh to maybe go to the Cincinnati Bengals and help that defense? Probably. So I would the Niners should upgrade their defensive coordinator, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think they just need to get better personnel, and then they can make a better evaluation on Nick Sorensen as a coach.
All right.
But as far as what I saw last night, I mean, you want to talk about defense in either of these teams? Non-existent. And it's more alarming for the Lions, who have a pivotal game against the Minnesota Vikings next week. Because if you're watching that game and you see a makeshift offensive line for the 49ers, but they were able to put up 21 points in the first half, I mean, Kevin O'Connell needs to be licking his chops over what he could do offensively against this Lions team.
For sure.
But what I came across was, I mean, as bad as the defenses were, people give Kyle a ton of shit, and I've heard way too much criticism of him from 49ers fans this season, where everyone wants him to be more like Ben Johnson. And I got to say, both of them are probably the 2 best play callers in football right now for what they're able to do with their creativity. Like, Kyle was in his bag last night, and he knew he could do it because this Lions team was depleted. Same thing with Ben Johnson, what he was able to do with the hook and ladder play with Amon-Ra St. Brown flipping it to Jameson Williams. I mean, Ben Johnson did the same exact thing in the NFC Championship game where he had Jameson Williams come out and end around. Now, it was designed differently last night, but it was amazing. Like, the play calling was spectacular. I think Kyle did a fantastic job last night. But when you get into a shootout like that, Brock is throwing way more than he's used to. He had a career high in passing yards, and I think the biggest positive to come away from this game for the 49ers is Ricky Pearsall having a fantastic night. Now, he was going up against, a depleted Lions secondary, but it's an NFL game, and that's who they're going to put out there in the playoffs, Lions-wise. So, yeah, I think that you should be encouraged about what you saw from Ricky Pearsall. And I think going forward, you should count on Ricky Pearsall being a part of your receiving core, rely on him along with Jawan Jennings. And I don't know about Deebo Samuel. I think it's better interest for the 49ers to get a deep threat that can, tear the top of the defense off. Right. So I don't know. Well, there'll be more time to talk about Deebo and his future and everything.
Take the top off of defense, but your quarterback can't throw the deep ball that well. Like, I'm sorry, but Purdy's accurate, but he doesn't have a strong arm. This is
No, he doesn't.
like we keep forgetting. I know he's absolved any thought of him being a last overall pick. Like, he's proven time and time again that he shouldn't have been drafted last overall. But there are reasons why they thought he should have been a last overall pick and potentially could have been undrafted because of things like that. And I'm not saying they shouldn't pay him, because ultimately I think they should. And I think he's done way more good that outweighs the bad that we've seen this year to make me think that he can get back to that good stuff. But I don't know. When you say, find a player who could take the top off of defense as opposed to Deebo Samuel, like, I don't know if they should. I don't know if that fits. I don't know if that fits what Purdy is best at. I don't know if they need to do that.
No, you could be right about that, but I think that we've seen at times this season, like the Ram game, where Purdy threw deep to Jawan Jennings. I thought that he had a good deep ball, but it's not always going to be perfect. He's not his consistency throwing the deep ball is not very good. I hear you on that one, Steven, but also, let's be real. In a shootout like this, Purdy needed to throw how many times in this game? Like, it was a lot, because they had no. Okay. I mean, do you want him throwing 35 times a game? Like,
no.
In a game where they have a healthy McCaffrey and other running backs, you probably run the football a lot more.
Yeah.
So after a while, yeah, he was making errant throws. I mean, the 2 interceptions to Kirby Joseph were not great. But I think I'd have to think when this team is fully healthy, they're not throwing the football as much. Now, they need to in certain games, but they need to have more of a balanced offense. And the last 2 weeks, it's kind of been just more of a passing attack by the 49ers offense, because they can't run as much with Isaac Guerrero. I will say Isaac Guerrero has impressed me as far as a pass catcher. That wheel route he had along the sideline, I know that, that's the same thing that James Cook was doing to this Lions defense a couple weeks ago. So Kyle saw something there. But, yeah, I think Isaac Guerrero is a pretty good pass catcher out of the backfield. The biggest thing to come away from this game is that both the Lions and the 49ers defenses were terrible. And the Lions were more opportunistic by turning the ball over. But the 49ers defense, they can't stop anybody right now. They miss Drake Greenlaw. They need another pass rusher. Their secondary is young, and it will grow with Bernardo Green and Malik Mustafa, and they paid Diamador Lenore. I don't think Travarius Ward will be there next year. I don't think Talanoa Hufanga will be there next year. I hear you on Malik Mustafa. He's a good hitter as a safety. Jair Brown needs to be more of that ball hawking guy, but I don't know if he's capable of that. So, yeah, I think you come away from this game and you are scared shitless when Brock Purdy gets sacked by Brian Branch and he's clutching his hand. And at first I texted you, I'm like, okay, not ideal, but they would still give him a contract if he broke his hand. And then you said, I don't know if it's a broken hand. I'm seeing speculation that it's the elbow again. And I'm like, I don't know if we could go there. And sure enough, Kyle Shanahan in the post-game presser is like, he did some nerve. He did some nerve stuff, and I'm like,
some nerve stuff.
Yeah, you're downplaying that, Kyle. Like, nerve stuff. That's not good. That's season ending for some guys, like Joe Burrow last year. And I don't know what the timeline was with that. Got better news today, where it's not a long-term deal, but it's. You and I discussed this. I contemplated keeping him out of this game with the offensive line and him getting a contract this offseason. Brock Purdy should not be playing in this game against Arizona.
I feel bad for saying this, but I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I don't trust the team doctors at all.
Okay.
Not after the stuff with Ambry Thomas, where it's like they cleared him a month before, and then obviously they put Ambry Thomas on waivers. Then the Indianapolis Colts said, dude, you're not ready. Like, maybe that's a problem with both, but we've seen it this year where guys come back too early. Trent Williams came back way too soon. And then that obviously what happened with his family was a terrible, terrible tragedy. But I do think his ankle injury could have been avoided and he could have potentially got back on the field if they slow played the ankle injury and said, you know what, we got to leave you out of here.
Just real quick on that. I hear you on that one, Steven. I think Not to speculate, I think what's going on with him off the field is preventing him from
Probably.
playing more than
Yeah.
the injury.
Probably, but also Shanahan has said in the thing he would be back here if we were feeling any better.
Yeah.
Dre Greenlaw came back and instantly got hurt again. Like, the team's doctors, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to think of them right now, especially after that Aubrey Thomas thing. Like, whoa, you were cleared to play a month ago?
Yeah.
You're not good to play right now.
I mean, there's a lot of.
I hate questioning a team's training staff because these people have all, they've all gone to medical school and they've been through years of education and had all the experience. But what happened this year has not given me much faith in the team doctor's opinion so far.
Well, I will say when when the Niners suffer injuries, it comes in waves. But that's just kind of a fluke thing in my opinion.
Suffer injuries is one thing, but I'm saying how they respond to those injuries back.
I mean, unless you see a change this offseason, I'm not going to speculate that they're not doing their jobs. I hated when everyone came after Rick Celebrini when they brought back Kevin Durant too early. I mean, there was no way to avoid that. Did they do their best in their due diligence with Christian McCaffrey this year? Yeah, I thought so. But he came back, and some people would say him playing in the snow aggravated that injury. But
they also brought him back during practice, and something happened at practice where he re-aggravated again.
Yeah, but McCaffrey's also crazy where he probably he went over the top with that.
Right. I'm just like, we hear so much from these doctors on the radio, and we're not doctors on the radio, but rather doctors who join the radio to give their analysis, but they've never worked with these players before, and they can tell you all these things about the patterns of these injuries and when they typically come back, but they're not working on these players. When I see this stuff from the team doctors and look at all the injuries this year, you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
You got to wonder.
So I would think it's best. And Kyle even said today that most likely Purdy's not going to play in this last game. So you'll probably see Josh Dobbs. It should be Josh Dobbs. Get a little revenge on the Cardinals. But yeah, the 49ers, injuries just kicked their ass this year. So many off the field things kicked their ass. If you look at their schedule, you look at their home games, not a looker amongst the bunch. Like, I don't know what nationally televised games the Niners are going to have, non-divisional nationally televised games, like maybe the Rams, maybe against the Seahawks. But you see the teams they're playing next year. I mean, this fourth place schedule is favorable to the 49ers, but they're playing the AFC South, the NFC South, the Browns, like the Giants. I think they could turn it around pretty quickly. So while everyone's upset and disappointed with what happened this season, I think they'll do the right things this offseason. They may need to say goodbye to guys that the fans have loved. I'm thinking Deebo Samuel, but they could probably retool with making changes to the coaching staff here or there, and then drafting where they need to, and most likely that will be in the trenches.
How do you not feel good, like, about where they're headed going into next year? Because we compared it to.
Is your mic there? I can't hear you anymore. Am I the only one that can't hear Steven? Steven, you there? Can the chat hear Steven? I'm the only one that can't hear Steven right now. Is your mic working? Is my mic working?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go. Okay, gotcha. Yes, it wasn't just me.
All right, hang on. Let me turn this. Now does it work?
Okay. Yeah, you're working now.
All right, goody. So 2020, we looked at that season. We just said it's a wash. Like, they just need to move on, right? And that's what it was reminiscent of this year. I guess like the 2021 the NFC Championship team when all their running backs got hurt. I guess it was reminiscent of that. But 2020 is when all those players got hurt and you had a bunch of season-ending injuries. You came back in 2021 and got to the NFC Championship. So how can you not look at that and think, man, this is more like that team after 2020 as opposed to say, I don't know, just a team that's fallen off a cliff and will never be good again. Now, this last place schedule can give you a real evaluation, though, because like if they don't win these games next year, you have everything on a platter. This is where you should be a playoff team next season with your schedule. You're going to be much more talented. You are hopefully not going to have as many injuries as you had going into this one. Obviously, McCaffrey being the main one. Then you got Dre Greenlaw, who can potentially come back. And you're going to have your full heap of draft picks and everything. Like, I don't know how you can go into this season or next season just not feeling super optimistic that you're going to get back to the postseason at least. But if they don't, like, that's where you got to look at Kyle Shanahan. You got to think, oh boy, like, is there really an issue here? What happens with Brock Purdy? Because last night, you can't blame an offense for losing a game because they scored 34 points. But God, you got to think if he didn't throw those interceptions, like, they probably would have been in it.
Well, not only that, but Jake Moody is having some Mike Vanderjack yips right now.
Yeah, he's gone. He's gone.
I don't know if he's gone. I just think that you can't go into training camp with him definitely being the number one kicker.
Well, Tim Kawakami pointed it out, and I think it's a great point. He's great in practice, great in training camp. But when he gets onto the field, he's shown that the mental toll can hit him. And I think it's only going to get worse. I think it'd be smart just for the 49ers to move on. Don't risk it. Let Moody go somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be willing to do that just yet. He still has a strong leg. You just have to see that he is not going to be freaked out mentally from this. Like, I thought it was a good response from George Kittle last night when he asked him, we got the details from Jake Moody where he said, do you believe in yourself? And Jake Moody said, yes. And he said, well, that's all I need to hear then. Like, man, George Kittle knows exactly what to say to pick up his teammates. And
I'm
to
not tell the media to make it seem like everything's all, sunshines and rainbows to the media.
That may be a good reason why they keep him around and he's still playing at a, all pro level. I wouldn't be surprised though in time they may say goodbye to him, but maybe not right now. Yeah, I wouldn't pull the plug on Jake Moody just yet, but I think you have to feel comfortable with your kicking situation that maybe you bring in a veteran kicker in training camp.
You have to.
Yeah.
At the very least, you have to. I think they need to move on from Moody personally, but you got to at least bring in a veteran.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to the Sebastian Janikowski clip with Gruden telling the story of him, like he was missing curfew and he's missing kicks and he was drinking all the night before. And I went and sent him out there for a 58-yard field goal. And Bob Kasula, the special team coach, says, are you out of your fucking mind? He's drunk. And I want him to miss. But then he started making field goals. I think it takes time with kickers. But yes, you definitely need to put some competition to light a fire under his ass.
Yeah. And don't you dare compare Jake Moody to Janikowski.
I know, man. Jano was my guy. Nailing field goals and nailing porn stars.
You kind of look like him.
Me? I guess I'll take that. What, I look like Fred Durst too?
Just shave the beard and you could be Jano for Halloween.
I always thought that Jano kind of had Fred Durst vibes with the backwards cap and the little soul patch going.
Oh, it looks exactly like him, but that was just the 2000s.
Yeah, wasn't he smoking in his car and he lit his car on fire by accident because he was hanging out with a porn star?
Correct.
Yeah, classic Jano.
Yes.
Speaking of Gruden, rumors are happening, and with that same Tom Pelissero clip with Peter Schrager on Good Morning Football, Schrager asks Pelissero, "What is one name in the coaching cycle that's not being brought up right now?" And Tom Pelissero said, "You will hear that John Gruden is interviewing for head coaching positions." And I'm not surprised. One detail that was said in that clip that I thought was going to happen was he could have, like Dennis Allen was going to give him the Saints offensive coordinator position, and he said no. And I thought that was a match made in heaven with him and Derek Carr and how often he would go to Saints practice. But I guess Gruden doesn't feel that that's right for him right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back as an offensive coordinator. I still would be surprised if he came back as a head coach. I just don't know if the league is ready for him. I mean, me personally, I don't know how you feel, Steven. I think enough time has passed. Like, did I like what he said in those emails? No. I don't condone anything that he wrote. But at the same time, I will say that was a long time ago. We're talking about when he was working for ESPN in 2012 or 2011. And who's to say he doesn't feel the same way now? But I think you can't really judge somebody from that long ago. And he was stupid to send those emails out to Bruce Allen on ESPN.com while he was an employee, while he was doing Monday Night Football. But I think he's back now, like the same thing with Belichick getting the UNC job. He's back in the public doing Barstool. You know, the nicey stuff is not going to get him a head coaching position, but, you know, like he still is John Gruden. And I think that if he did get a head coaching job, I mean, the place that I look at is like Jacksonville, where he could team up with Trevor Lawrence. I think he lives in Florida still. I think that'd be the perfect spot for him. I do understand that he'd have to smooth things over with the public and smooth things over with Roger Goodell. But that would be insane if John Gruden comes back to the NFL. Yeah, I don't think it would be a bad move, but I don't know if I'm counting on it right now.
He could probably do worse, but I don't see where his value is anymore. Like, what's he good at? You know, like I think we kind of overrated Gruden as a head coach after what he did with the Raiders after 2018. It's like, okay, you beat the Raiders in the Super Bowl because you knew their plays, but what else has Gruden done? He's fooled all of us by doing that. Has a lot of fun, and he's one of my favorite people, but he's not that great of a coach. And he'll rally the troops or whatever, but good God, those personnel decisions he made from 2018 through 2021 were awful and really set the team back.
Okay, that's what needs to change, though. If
Yeah.
he were to become a head coach again, he cannot be in charge of personnel. Someone has to be running the ship. I don't know if that's Trent Baalke with the Jaguars or whoever John Gruden would handpick, but it cannot be where Gruden was telling Mike Mayock, we need Cleveland Farrell, we need this guy. At the end of the day, the GM needs to tell John, this is what we're doing.
Sure. But I think what him, I think, honestly, as weird as this is to say, these emails coming out, not saying it was the best thing that could happen, but I think it kind of helped because they're like, man, Gruden still had something left. I think if he would have played out that season, he would have been gone and no one else would have wanted him to be the coach.
I don't know about that. I mean, they were 3-0 and they lost a couple games before he resigned, but you and I differ on this. I understand that there was some frustration with him as a play caller. I thought he got too arrogant with his personnel decisions. He kind of has a little bit of Kyle in him where you can't tell him what to do offensively. He's going to just do what he wants to do. But I do think that he would have turned things around for the Raiders. I do believe that. And maybe that's just me living in the past of me loving John Gruden when I was a kid.
Let's just take the first few seasons. Awesome, right? But let's go back after 2002. And you know what? I'll open what I'm looking at right now.
I know he had some down years with the Bucks.
7-9, 5-11, 11-5. That's awesome. 4-12, 9-7, 9-7, 4-12, 7-9, 8-8, 3-2. Like, why are we looking at this guy like he is Bill Belichick? It's like we're talking about him like that. No, he's not like that. He knows his football, extremely passionate about it. Maybe the number one football addict that's out there. But we just always look at Gruden as this pinnacle of coaching, like a Bill Parcells or something like that, because he was in our living rooms for so long. And right now he's on our phone screens everywhere. We're like, God, how is this guy not a coach? I think we also forget that he wasn't that great.
I hear you on the losing seasons, but he was also really stubborn when it came to quarterbacks. He never drafted the right quarterback. He always wanted to go to veterans. He never trusted a young QB. Like, it was always Rich Gannon or Brad Johnson, or he put up with Chris Sims, but then he wanted to have Brian Greasy, or he traded for Jake Plummer, and he tried to get Brett Favre on the Buccaneers. Like, it never was him Like, he stuck it out with Derek because he liked Derek, and he said no to Tom Brady, surprisingly. Like, I hear you, but I think there was a lot of factors in play. I mean, you can't deny that he won a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers and turned that Tony Dungy defensive-oriented team into more of an offensive-oriented team, scoring 48 points in the Super Bowl. Now, it was because of 3 pick sixes. But, and I hear you, like, John Gruden's not in the same vein as a Bill Belichick. He is the original young offensive guru that Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay and all these guys strive to be.
Sure. Yeah, sure. But those guys are better than him now, than he ever was as a head coach.
Because it's a different league now.
Yeah.
It's a different league.
So why are we bringing him back?
Because I think a team like the Jaguars will not get better.
Barstool.
Not necessarily. I think a team like the Jaguars will not win unless they change their culture. So it makes more sense for the Jags to, like, they shouldn't hire Joe Brady or Bobby Slowick, maybe Ben Johnson. But I think where you really change is establishing a culture. So the same way as Mike Vrabel would help out the Raiders, I think if you brought John Gruden or Pete Carroll to the Jaguars, then they would become a better organization.
Maybe a Pete Carroll. Like, he has better track record than John Gruden. Like, where is this all coming from? Like, really? You can't deny Gruden. He's fun.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but Gruden also won a Super Bowl. Like, let's not deny that he's a Super Bowl winning head coach.
Sure. When he knew all the plays that the Raiders were running against his former team.
Dude, he went into Philadelphia and kicked that team's ass.
Right. But that was back in 2002.
I will say he needs to change the way that he comes across. Because when he came back with the Raiders that first time around, I mean, I was excited, no doubt about it. Me and my dad were overjoyed, and then reality set in with my dad not being a part of the team anymore, and Gruden kind of ran the team with an iron fist. This time around, like, you and I were joking about it when he was doing his press conference at the Combine. He was like, "I'm bringing things back to 1998, man." It's like, no, you can't. You can't, John. Like, we're in 2025 now, so you got to change that.
All right. I think the free agency record is worse than the draft record. Forget the draft, right? The draft, there's always hits or misses. Jordy Nelson, 2 years, $14 million. Tahir Whitehead, 3 years, $19 million. Rashawn Melvin, Trent Brown, Tyrell Williams, LaMarcus Joyner. You remember that? That was supposed to be their big year where they completely turned things around.
Yeah, well, Marcus Joyner didn't even play it down for the Raiders. He was like a big free agent signing, and they cut him in training camp.
Corey Littleton was terrible. Nick Kwiatkowski, Carl Nassib, Marcus Mariota, Malik Collins. How about that? Yannick Ngakoue, Kenyon Drake. Like, it just...
Well, they were trying to rebuild too, Steven. Like, Gruden wasn't into that 2016.
He did a terrible job at it and set them back.
I'm not denying that. If you did give him a head coaching job, he cannot be in charge of personnel. He can't have a say in that.
Well, he's way too stubborn for that. Come on.
I know. We're also talking like this is actually going to happen. Like, I'm looking at Ron Rivera interviewing for the Jets head coaching position. I'm like, he's not getting that. Like, at the end of the day, it may just be a thing to get his name out there again. I would be very surprised if John Gruden lands a head coaching job. Should he be an OC for a team? Yeah, I think so. But
offensive coordinator, fine. Like, I'm willing to concede that, but
I wonder if he thinks, though, it's better for him to just be a media personality on Barstool as opposed to being an OC for a team.
Maybe. I like how the Twitter still runs as if, like, he's the one who's doing the tweeting. Like, I would be shocked if he knows how to open Twitter on his phone.
Yeah,
okay,
he knows
how to open Twitter, but he's not the one who's doing the tweeting or posting the posts. I don't know. I think we just get so caught up in these personalities, and I keep thinking back, and I keep showing off about it because I do. I don't know why, but that Churchill doc, Churchill at War, Netflix.
Okay, all right.
There's one where the guy said people are sold for sold way quicker on the person than they are the actual cause. And I just feel like we've been sold so much on John Gruden that it's like every time he's back in football, it's great. It's great to have Gruden back. But if you remember, everyone was crapping on the Raiders when Gruden was back. So I don't know, especially including all those people that worked at Barstool. I guarantee you that. I don't know. Like I don't even care about the emails anymore. Like we have come to establish that someone had a vendetta against Gruden and used it against him.
Daniel Snyder.
Not to say what he was saying was right, but like it's football. Like of course those guys are going to say stuff like that, and he was probably unfairly put out like that. But
Agreed.
I just don't think. I'm just not convinced the Raiders would be in a much better position than he was then.
I mean, you know he'd still be head coach right now.
Yeah, for sure.
And I can't say that they would probably be in a better position, but I can't say that. I mean, I don't know how much playoff victories they would have won. I don't know. I think Gruden's a good guy to change the culture of a team, but while Andy Reid has been in this league just coaching nonstop and adjusted to where the league has gone, Gruden has a hard time doing that sometimes.
Yes. I'm just not convinced that he's going to bring some team and he's going to just be a Super Bowl winning head coach.
No, but he may be the guy to help. Like I keep going to the Jaguars, and I think that's the perfect spot for him to help out of Trevor Lawrence and finally like gain his confidence and playing to his full potential.
Sure,
I think that he could do that.
Yeah, I mean it's that's what he did. That was his job, his literal job in quarter. Like you would think that Josh Dobbs was going to be a superstar quarterback based on how he talked about him. Johnny Manziel.
Oh, dude. Okay, him during the draft, that was ridiculous. I draft Johnny Manziel right here, man. His name is football. His last name is football. How could you go against that?
Oh my God. I don't know, man. And this Barstool thing is bringing him back, and it's convincing all the Barstoolites. To be honest, I've gotten way too much Barstool content on my social media platforms, and it's not even entertaining anymore. It's like, great, let's watch a bunch of, I'm kind of jealous, but it's like, let's watch a bunch of guys having fun on video. There's like not much entertainment value to it. It's like, cool, let's watch them go through a sports gauntlet themselves.
But don't you want to be a part of it?
Of course, but I don't need to watch it. So I muted everything. I'm done.
Yeah, I don't need to see who's the guy. What's his name? Steven Cheetah or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like I don't need to hear 1 minute movie reviews if you like Mufasa the Lion King. I don't care.
Yeah. It's past it's past our kind of viewing thing. It's for guys who are in their late teens or early 20s. Like it's fine, but it's also convinced them that make up a big part of the NFL fan base that Gruden's a good head coach because he's been on Barstool and he's funny.
I mean, he is funny. He gives a good insight, but yeah, it would take a lot of massaging for him to come back into the league. Like there would need to be like the whole lawsuit would need to be dropped, which I think Gruden lost that or something, whatever it was.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, let me ask you this: do you think it'd be easier for Gruden to get a head coaching job or Brian Flores?
Oh, shoot! Oh man,
yeah. Because Gruden sued the league. Brian Flores sued individual teams. The Giants, if I remember correctly, and the Denver Broncos. So they're not hiring him. But it may be like, okay, if he drops the lawsuit and kind of goes back on what he said a little bit, well, there's also a lot of truth to it as well. I think that there may be more wiggle room for Brian Flores to get a head coaching job.
I'd say
John
Flores
would be kind of a harder sell.
I'd say Flores because he's in the NFL right now, and with the way that his defense has operated, the fact that a Brian Flores led team is letting Cam Bynum and company do a High School Musical dance as a celebration.
Whew.
Maybe something's changed with that. So.
Well, he doesn't have any say in that.
I would say, but he's still letting him do it. Like,
well, yeah.
but considering he's like a no nonsense kind of guy, I could say, knock that bullshit off. We don't do that around here. Like, I could picture him being that guy. I thought he would be that guy. You'd forget that was a Brian Flores led team. So I would say Flores. I would
Yeah.
say Flores just because of where he's at right now and the fact that the Minnesota Vikings are just rolling.
Let's do that in a little quick hits. That game against the Green Bay Packers, the Minnesota Vikings, they very well could be your number one seed in the NFL. If you think about that Week 18 game, and it's, oh God, beautiful to get that as the last game of the season.
It is. Sunday night.
14-2 teams. I mean, this is maybe the best win. Like, there's been better like win and you're in scenarios where a team loses and they're totally out of the playoffs, but like everything's on the line here. You go from 1 to 5 in this game.
Yeah.
But just watching that game with the Minnesota Vikings and Green Bay Packers, what else can you say about Sam Darnold this year? I think right now he's your hands down favorite for comeback player of the year. It depends on what you value. Do you value Sam Darnold really never having a good start to his career and finally living up to expectations? Or do you value more Joe Burrow coming back from nerve damage in his hand to have an all-time passing season? I would say for what the award really means, I would go with Sam Darnold. But Sam Darnold's having an amazing year. And I was really disappointed in the Green Bay Packers. Like, it was pissing me off how stubborn they were with the run. Like, after a while, it's like, okay, Josh Jacobs is not going to really have the type of game you're looking for. And also, they need to be more balanced. Like, okay, do some play action fakes off of this running game. Like, Jordan Love, I think he had like 60 yards passing going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? And this is on me. I made a huge mistake in my fantasy football championship. Now, I won, Steven, mind you.
Oh.
But I had the bright idea of benching Devontae Smith because he's playing with Kenny Pickett and decided to go with Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed had 1 catch for 6 yards. You know how many touchdowns Devontae Smith had?
How many?
2. Stupid.
But
like
you
Kenny,
won.
What's up?
But you won.
I won in the end thanks to Jamison Williams and Jameer Gibbs.
So who cares?
I could have really rubbed it into Danny Dunn's face.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, I know. I feel bad for Danny Dunn, but he's getting second place money. No one likes when the commissioner wins the fantasy football league. I'll tell you that.
No. That's what happened with ours.
Yeah. Oh, did Jacob win? Jacob beat you?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I know.
That's lame.
Yeah.
He always wins that fucking league.
Yeah, I don't know how.
He's just really good at fantasy.
Out there with that Christmas vest on your live stream and shit.
The red velvet pants and like the mom sweater he's rocking.
That guy has, you know what, man? Like, that dude has style. You know? Like, I can't explain it. Like, it's so unique. It's just so him. You can't knock it because it's like that's who he is, and he rocks it.
I don't think anybody else could pull that off.
He's a handsome devil, so he can rock that. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and even the gray in the hair, he rocks well.
Yeah, dude. It's unreal. I hate that guy.
I do as well. But yeah, like it was just like at that point when it was 27-10 with the Minnesota Vikings winning that game, and I was like, what are the Packers doing? And they waited too long to get the pass game going. Like for me, I came away very impressed with the Minnesota Vikings. I think they very well could beat the Detroit Lions this Sunday. And right now, I think the Packers are probably going to be your 7th seed in the NFC, lose to the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, they have nobody to blame but themselves. They've lost to, I don't want to pull a Tom Brady here. They've lost to the Minnesota Vikings twice, the Detroit Lions twice, and the Philadelphia Eagles the first game of the week. You see that when Tom Brady's like, who they lose to? I forgot. It's like the team that you're looking at right now, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that before or after he pronounced the word sacks?
I think that was before he pronounced sacks.
Can we play that, please?
Yeah, I don't think it's that weird, but go for it.
I think it is.
Protection today. Sam may have a little sense of comfort that at some point you got to get rid of the ball. He's held onto the ball quite a bit this season, and he's taken a lot of sacks. 46 sacks this season.
It's a little weird. Socks. Almost like he's saying socks.
Taken a lot of sacks. I think almost 46 sacks.
Socks.
Socks.
Yes, Sam Darnold's taking a lot of socks.
Yeah, making him sound like Al Gore out there. Yeah, it hasn't been Brady's best year, and that's why I think you and I are in agreement that he should focus on helping the Raiders out more than being a broadcaster.
He's been taking a lot of socks.
Yeah, it's
46 sacks.
yeah. That and him being the great kazoo this year, where he magically teleported to
Right.
to the broadcast, was ridiculous.
Zesty sacks.
Yeah, very, very zesty. But yeah, I've been disappointed with Jordan Love. I thought that should have been a game where he kind of rips it a little bit more than he did. I think then Matt LaFleur's not helping him out either with some of the play calls. It should be more of a balanced offense than just giving the ball to Josh Jacobs every play. I did like them going for 2, but yeah, I'm disappointed in the Green Bay Packers. They should be better than what they are right now.
Well, they're an 11-win team.
They are, but they'll probably, if the Commanders win, then they're the 7th seed, and I think that's an early exit against them and the the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, and you know what the Philadelphia Eagles could do? Create a lot of sacks.
They can as well.
46 sacks.
Let's talk about them real quick. They beat up on the Dallas Cowboys 41-7. Good pick 6 by C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Good performance by Kenny Pickett. I don't think it's the best thing to have a guy do the tush push when he's got a rib injury, so that probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. But even Tanner McKee coming in there, and might be easy for a backup quarterback to just throw to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
Mm-hmm.
But Saquon Barkley, man, like for him to get 2,000 yards, this is a dumb take by me. I've had it in years past. Whenever someone rushed for 2,000 yards, I always said that's the last time you'll see that guy, another running back, rush for 2,000 yards. I thought that Derrick Henry was the last guy because I didn't think that this league would allow that anymore. I thought that it's just a passing, crazy league. And in years past, like we saw guys that won the rushing title with, not a whole lot of yards. The Christian McCaffrey went above and beyond last year, and I think Kyron Williams was number 2, and he was like 500 yards back of McCaffrey.
Well, it's never been about rushing yards anymore, right? It's the all-purpose. That's really what it's been about with running backs. And
this year, I mean, Saquon Barkley, the guys that found new teams went back to the old school. Saquon, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs. So yeah, I mean, Saquon Barkley getting 2,000 yards in today's age of football, like that's crazy. The debate becomes, should he break it this season, this upcoming week with nothing to play for? And I go back and like, is it the smart thing to do? Probably not. Like, what else do you need to prove? Like, okay, you need him for the playoffs. If you don't have Saquon Barkley out there, then you are not going to win. Like, that's what their team is a running football team, and they pass every now and then to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So what I would do is I would do this. I would not play Jalen Hurts, even if he's cleared by concussion protocol. Keep him out. There's no reason to play him. I wouldn't even play Kenny Pickett. I would have Tanner McKee be your starting quarterback this week. I would rest A.J. Brown. I would rest Devontae Smith. Barkley with your starting offensive line for one half to get that record. All you get is one half to do it. And I go back to Terrell Davis. I remember as a kid, the Broncos had nothing to play for. That last week of the season, he was, I think, about 175 yards away from getting 2,000 yards. And Mike Shanahan let him have it. And they were willing to roll the dice. And I know records are just records sometimes, individual achievements, but that's pretty cool to break Eric Dickerson's record. So, yeah, I would try to break it if you could do it in a half. That's what I would do.
Yeah, but I wouldn't risk it at all, man.
Yeah.
I would not risk it at all. Like, I know the record's awesome, but I don't think you need a record to show how amazing he's been this year. And ultimately, the Eagles have a real chance of taking the NFC this year. I know the Vikings are great, right? They have been great. And the Lions are the Lions. But Saquon is your number one shot at getting deep into the postseason. You can't risk it. You can't.
I'm with you on that. It would be incredibly dumb, and you would second guess yourself for doing it if he ever got hurt. But this is no one's ever cracked 2,000 yards in week 17 of a 17-week season.
Right.
So he has a chance to do something very special, but it all depends on what Saquon wants to do. And I guess Nick Sirianni's asking the the organization as far as players and coaches, what they think. And yeah, and it's against the Giants too. It's former team. Like, oh, it just set up so fucking perfectly. But it makes no sense. It makes no sense to play him.
No, it doesn't. And you're right with all that, but I don't know. If I'm an Eagles fan, I'm saying don't play him. Like,
Yeah.
don't do that at all. Hell, even as the 49ers, yesterday, I know they wanted to get the win, and I know Brock Purdy is desperate to get out there and win for his team, but I wouldn't have played Brock Purdy yesterday. Like, I just didn't think it was worth it. You're going to pay him next season. Like, just sit him. I know you want to, you have a lot of pride, but what's the point? Like, this is football.
Yeah, the 2 interceptions were bad yesterday. Just real quick, do you think Brock hurt his chances of getting a good amount of money next season?
No.
Yeah.
It's all this stuff that we create. It's like the same thing how they're going to fire Kyle Shanahan or let go of John Lynch. Like the team literally said today, Shanahan said today, after the whole report came out, after Jed York just said, or Jed York and him and Shanahan talk on the phone, they are not going to let go of him. I think it's going to be the same thing with Brock Purdy. I don't think they're going to go back on their word now just because of a couple of interceptions.
Yeah. And boy, I interviewed John Lynch last Friday with Greg Silver.
47 red.
Yes. I could sense a little not because he was put off by doing the interview, but he had a little fiery sense to him on Friday when he did that interview. Yeah. It almost was like, I'm tired of us being crappy this season.
Right.
Like to give the notion that we're going to lay down for anybody is ridiculous. That's not what we do around here. And you saw it last night. He was pissed off in that booth. And I love seeing it because you want to see that from your former player turned GM.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't think of anything of it except that's just who John Lynch was as a player, and he wants to win.
Exactly. And by the way, speaking of resting or playing, Dan Campbell's quote last night. Did you see this one, Steven?
Which one?
He thought about resting his guys once he saw the Vikings won their game, but he said, nah, we want to go out there. We're traveling all the way to the West Coast. We like it hard. That a boy, Campbell. One last thing. A lot of the games were stinkers this past week. We talked about it briefly, but the Commanders-Falcons game was really cool to watch both of those rookie QBs go back and forth. Raheem Morris, dude, you got to call timeout. Like, that was really bad.
What happened?
You didn't see it?
Nope.
They were driving. The game was tied up 24-24. There was 40 seconds left. Michael Penix hits Darnell Mooney along the sideline. He does not get out of bounds.
Yeah.
And they run a couple more plays without calling timeout, and they settle for a 50-plus yard field goal, and he misses it, where they could have called the timeout earlier and got a better position and win the game, get the game-winning kick.
Classic.
At the same time, Michael Penix threw a great pass, touchdown pass to, of all people, Kyle Pitts in the end zone on 4th and goal to tie the game up. But yeah, bad coaching decision by Raheem Morris. He gave a bullshit answer. And yeah, Raider fans got to feel conflicted, or not conflicted, but just angry as hell when they watched that game where, like, we could have had either of these guys. I mean, Jaden Daniels was not feasible. Michael Penix, a little bit, but that's what sucks when you win games and you lose draft position.
Right.
Finally, the Bills-Jets game. I mean, I hear this conversation about should Aaron Rodgers come back to the Jets. I think this game kind of solidifies it. I wouldn't bring him back. I don't know what Aaron Rodgers has to offer that much more in this league. He flashes every now and then, but maybe you bring him back to the Jets and maybe you draft somebody. But the way he pulled himself out of the game too, I really didn't like. He was like, "We're down 40-0. What's the point?" But all you need to know about the Jets this season, I mean, there was a great play by Josh Allen where he was along the sideline, just threw the ball up in the air, and Keon Coleman came down with it.
Yeah.
But the photo of them coming out, did you see this, Steven? Of them taking a page out of the 49ers playbook, of them having a boombox, and they were walking out to the field, them playing Gangster's Paradise. If this was something they did all season long, and maybe they have, I'd be like, okay, whatever, it's their thing. But you're 4-11. Like, what the hell are you trying to accomplish here?
Right.
They do that, and if you've seen the photo, it's amazing. All these Jets players coming out with the boombox. To the corner is Josh Allen with a smirk on his face. Like, this is fucking ridiculous.
Right. It was. And it's, you know what? It's perfect for the Jets and perfect for Aaron Rodgers. Like,
Yep.
It was just perfect, poetic even.
Yeah, I'm assuming you haven't watched any of that Enigma.
No, I'm not planning on it.
Me neither. I couldn't care less. I caught a little snippet of RFK trying to convince him to be vice president. I was like, I'm good.
I got one more.
Yeah.
One more. It was a great game. It's Bengals and Broncos.
Oh God, yeah.
And Jesse and I were at a bar watching it because we were leading up to the Sharks game that night. Sat next to one of the most annoying fans I've ever sat next to at a sporting event. Good God, that was the worst. It was like a guy in his early 20s trying to show off to his brand new girlfriend. That was frustrating. Anyway.
In what way? Just curious.
Just trying to show off his hockey knowledge and good tweener there, bud. That kind of is just stop it, dude.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to look over, man. You want to impress her, dress better. But the Bengals, dude, he was wearing basketball shorts and dirty ass Vans. Like, come on, be better, man.
One of the most annoying fan experiences I've ever had was, again, with a Sharks fan. Same deal. It was at the Stanley Cup final, and he was so annoying, screaming all the time. And then he had his baby in his hands, and his baby was wearing those earmuffs. And he was like criticizing me for not like getting riled up for the game. So I said to him, "Could I borrow your son's headphones so I don't have to hear you?" And he was like, "Oh, you think you're funny, huh? You think you're funny?" I'm like, "You're gonna beat me up with your baby in your hands?"
Wish I would have been there for that. But also, he's right. I'm with him. How are you not fired up? It's the finals.
I didn't want to stand up.
Oh, you got to support the team.
You got to support the team. Anyway, sorry, I cut you off.
So, Bengals, Broncos. Obviously, the Bengals kept their playoff hopes alive, but they need next week the Dolphins to lose to the Jets. They also need the Colts to lose to the who the hell the Colts playing?
Jags.
They need the Colts to lose to the Jags, but
I think the Colts have been eliminated.
They have.
So they need the Chiefs to beat the Broncos, but the Chiefs are not playing anybody.
I don't think they need the Chiefs to beat the Broncos because they beat the Broncos last weekend.
You talking about the Bengals?
Yeah. Do they?
The Bengals definitely need the Broncos to beat the Chiefs.
Sorry,
the Chiefs to beat the Broncos.
Sorry. Good point. So they also need the Broncos to lose as well. But if they get into the playoffs, seeing how Joe Burrow has played this year, I mean, you think they can play a little spoiler in the AFC? I mean, dude, we'd be getting, come on, first week of the season, we'd be getting Bills versus Bengals first postseason game.
And Joe Burrow, I believe, has always beaten Josh Allen. Beaten.
Yeah. Shout out Michelle Beadle.
Stop.
What?
I need to hear you, and I don't need to hear Pat H in the fucking chat all the time.
All right.
Yes, he in the minimal amounts of games that Josh Allen has played Joe Burrow has beaten Josh Allen. Yeah? You like that?
Yeah. I'm just saying, man. Whew. Be fun.
I don't see that happening.
I know.
I think that it's going to be tough for the Bengals to get in. Not only do they have to beat the Steelers, but the Chiefs, who are playing Carson Wentz and a bunch of backups, and the Broncos still need to clinch. So I think that's a layup for the Broncos to get into the playoffs.
You never know, man.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen crazier shit happen. But I will say, for that game, Bo Nix, he's really impressing me. Like, that touchdown pass he threw to Marvin Mims, like, that was...
Yeah, that was insane.
That was a shot.
Yeah.
And Joe Burrow, for the amount of times that he has to win a game for the Bengals, like, he won the game from 3 different times. Like, that... We can talk about what Josh Purdy. We can talk about what Brock Purdy's going to make this offseason. Joe Burrow and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, these guys are in another stratosphere. Like, they should be getting different contracts. I will say Zach Taylor had a weird choice he made where he had the QB sneak for Joe Burrow to win that game. At least he thought. You could have run the ball a little bit more and not score quickly and kick the field goal with like 20 seconds left.
Yeah. That's right.
Now, that being said, that kicker that was filling in for Evan McPherson, not a guarantee.
Yeah. Kind of brutal.
All All right, guys, that's going to be it for us today. Rockin' New Era asked us real quickly, what's your take/view on Mike Brown firing? We talked about it last podcast, but I've seen a lot of coaches come out and speak against it. Michael Malone and Rick Carlisle were talking in support of Mike Brown. Yeah, Mike Brown shouldn't have been fired. I think that was too quick of a move to make. I don't know where he's going to land. I would love to see him on TV for the rest of the year. But like I said last podcast, I don't think you could just make a move for Mike Brown because you love Mike Brown. I think that the Warriors' assistant coaches, Terry Stotts and Jerry Stackhouse, are doing a very good job. So maybe that's a move you wait till the offseason for, maybe. But, yeah, it's just an unfortunate situation for Mike Brown. The Kings don't know what they're doing.
No. I got a question for you.
Answer, Daily Double.
Jesse asked last night, she wanted me to bring this up to you, but have you heard of the strawberry gelada from Modelo?
Yes.
And would you try that?
I'm not a big strawberry guy. Now, I like strawberry, like figs. Like I like those breakfast treats you have, like with your cereal. Breakfast treats.
Breakfast. Hell yeah.
Keep it abreast, a booby. I don't like the other flavors when it comes to the cheladas. There's the green lime one. There's other like orangey ones. I saw that strawberry one. Not for me.
All right. Jesse wanted to know. You're the chelada aficionado.
Well, I got my brother hooked on them. He drank a shit ton of them during Christmas.
Oh, poor guy.
And I've learned from my mistakes. I've been out with you where I've drank like 6 cheladas in one sitting, and that did not lead to a good night. I got kicked out of the bar because I was throwing up in the toilet. But that was the least of our worries that night, if you remember correctly, Stephen.
Yes, it was.
My brother drinks.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was many moons ago. But my brother
don't remember
drank
that night. I don't remember. I didn't remember that night the day after.
Yep. My brother drank so many cheladas. I think he had 3 tall cans in one day. And the next day he was throwing up when we were walking around Napa. And I was like, that's the price you pay, my friend.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Hey, he's my brother.
Look,
he ain't heavy. He's just my brother.
You live and you learn.
Exactly. All right, guys. We will be back on Saturday to get you ready for the last week of the NFL season and potentially look at some of the coaching openings. All right, to everybody in the chat today. To Ernie 1. I think Ernie 1 was here. Yeah, Ernie 1, Ernie 2. Pat H, making fun of my my T's and my D's. The skills report. Tacky was taking a shower, and I don't think he joined us at all. Jesse for a little bit of time. And I think that's AJ Cruz, my man AJ Cruz. That's it. All right, guys. Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2025. We're going to try to get back on X/Twitter for the new year, so you can start watching these things on YouTube and Twitter. And I guess Instagram for a little bit of time, but I don't know how we set that thing up. Steven, you know better than me. All right. We'll see you guys on Saturday. Happy New Year. Steven, say what you always say.
Oh, it's just our opinion, man. Socks.